What is the best mobile radio? Mobile VHF UHF 2 meter for 40, maybe a little bit more than that. In the beginning of 2024, if you have a technician class license, if you just got your license, or if you're just looking at getting your license, you're almost there, and you're wondering what the best mobile radio to put in your vehicle is that you can use all the bands, check this out. As I have said in the past, in all of these videos, I go in order of price. Okay, so I want that made clear, because on my best HF video that I did in January of this year, I said it, but I think I kind of said it as I was saying something else, and a couple people missed it, and it's okay. It's not a big deal. But these radios go in order of price. Okay, so we're starting at the lowest price and we're going to the highest price. I will tell you which one I like the best out of these 11. These are my top 11 picks for the best mobile radio of 2024, VHF, UHF, and more. And I'll tell you which ones are my top 2 or 3 as we go. So let's start out at the lowest priced one, which is the VGC VRN7500 50-watt dual-band mobile radio. Now, this radio is only $179 by twowayradios.com. If you guys ever buy anything from twowayradios.com, be sure to tell them that you heard about them on this channel. They're a sponsor of this channel. I did a video on this radio a while back when it was brand new. It is a faceless radio, so you can mount it anywhere in the car, and then it connects to a Bluetooth device, an Android device. When I did my video on it, it did not have an Apple app yet. I don't know if it has an Apple app yet. I don't use Apple products, so I didn't ever research that. But it does have an Android app that you can install on your phone, or preferably a tablet. If you have a tablet or if you have Android Auto in your car, it might work with that. So you install an app, and then you program the radio from the app, and you use the radio from the app, and you grab the microphone, you keep the radio after you've changed the frequency and set the repeater offsets and everything through the app. It allows you to mount the radio anywhere. It's been out for 2 or 3 years at the time of this recording, and everything I've heard about it has been very good. I've used it a few times myself. I have an all-star connection to it that I never could get to work, but that wasn't the radio's fault. So a lot of people I know use this. You can also use PTT on the app itself. So if you're standing outside of your car and you hear someone come through the radio, you can open the app and key up the radio from your app and talk into it that way. So it's very versatile. This is one of the few radios that I've ever seen do exactly all of this Bluetooth stuff, Bluetooth programming, Bluetooth face for the radio. Very cool. And it is the first radio on the list today at $179.95 at the time of this recording for the top 11 radios of 2024. Now, let me stop real quick and say that these prices will fluctuate over time. Always check the prices on all of your ham radio retailers. I'm going to give you 4 ham radio retailers that I support because they support me. There are many more out there, so if you like shopping somewhere that you don't see today, that's okay. Just go check prices because they do fluctuate over time. That's the end of that right there. The next on the list, now I hesitate to put this one on the list, but I'm going to go ahead and put it up there because I get a lot of questions about this radio. And you might say, well, Jason, you're talking about the best radio, so is this one the best or not? Yes and no. Right here on Amazon, you can get this for $198. If you go search Buy Two-Way Radios at the time of this recording, this radio is listed for about $230 for version 2. The Amazon posting does not say if it's the upgraded, not version 2, but the plus version, which is the newest one right now. Buy Two-Way Radios sells the plus version. This posting on Amazon does not say whether it's the plus version or not, so I don't know. But if you scroll down here, it says right there, frequently returned item. Check the product details and customer reviews to learn more about this item. Now, I think this radio is perfectly fine. I wonder, and this is being sold by the TYT store on Amazon, so I wonder why that gets a rating of frequently returned. I wonder if people just don't like it or don't understand how to program it. The first video I ever put on this channel was how to program this radio because I kept getting questions from people, saying the same question from multiple people over and over again about how to program the radio and how to program repeater offsets and all this stuff. But this is the TYT TH9800. It is a copy of the old Yaesu FT8900, which is no longer in production, but this one is still in production. I think you've probably got about a 75 to 25% chance of getting a good one of these. So 75% chance you'll get a good one, 25% chance you'll get a not so good one. And Amazon's really good about returns. It's got free returns on the posting here. So check it out. If you have one of these, if you've used one before, I ran one of these in my car for about 1.5 years, and the only problem I ever had, I still have that radio. I haven't powered it up in a long time, but I still own the radio. I need to break it back out. I've been thinking about making a new video with it anyway. The only problem I ever had with it is that the microphone was very hot. So I drive a 4x4 pickup truck with big all-terrain tires on it. So when I'm driving down the road, there's a little bit more road noise than there would be in like a nice custom sedan. So when I would key up, people would say there's a lot of noise in your microphone. And I ended up switching out the microphone and doing some extra steps to eliminate that. But that was really the only problem that I ever had with that radio, was just the microphone was really hot and picked up a lot of road noise. This radio comes in today at $198.86. And the great thing about this radio is that it is not only VHF, UHF, it is quad band. So on the left-hand side of the radio, when you're looking at it, it also adds 6 meters and 10 meters FM. Now, if you're technician class, if you just got your technician license or you haven't upgraded to general yet, you can't use the FM portion of the 10-meter band. You can use the single sideband portion of the 10-meter band from 28.3 to 28.5, the phone portion for HF, which FM's not allowed down there. It's only sideband and AM allowed down there. And you can use some of the digital and CW portions of the 10-meter band, which is lower than 28.3. But the FM portion starts around 29 megahertz. You can't use that legally with your technician license, but you can use 6-meter FM, 6-meter everything, and you can use 2 meters and 440. So you can use 3 of the 4 bands on this radio. 10 meters and 6-meter FM are not used nearly as much as the regular 2-meter, 440, 70-centimeter bands are, but you have that option. If you ever want them in the future, you and a buddy want to find a local 6-meter repeater that nobody uses and get on there and have the repeater to yourself, there's that option. $198 at the time of this recording. Now, this brings me to, this is going to be one of my favorite radios we talk about today. Out of everything we talk about today, I'm going to give you 3 that are my favorite, okay? All of these I like. All of these I like. All of these I've used. 3 of them are my favorite. This is my first favorite one. This is the Anytone AT5888 UV3 tri-band Anytone radio. This one's from China. It is out of stock at the time of this recording, but I wanted to include it anyway. The only place I know of that sells this radio is R&L Electronics. You used to be able to buy this radio from Amazon. You used to be able to get it on a couple different websites. The only one that sells it anymore is R&L. Now, there is one on Amazon that's the 5888 UV2. It is a dual band version. It looks just like this one. After I did my last video about this radio, people said, oh, no, you can get that on Amazon. And I went and looked. I'm like, no, that's the dual band version. This is the tri-band version, okay? It includes the 220 megahertz band. It's FM only, so it's got 2 meters, 220 megahertz, 440 megahertz, and all of those bands are usable in full by technician license. So if you have any 220 megahertz repeaters near you, this radio might be a good option for a mobile radio for you. I love the 220 band. We're going to be doing some more. I've done a bunch of videos about 220. We're going to be doing some more in the future. But this radio is a great choice if you have 220 megahertz simplex needs. For you and a buddy get on simplex, you'll be amazed how far it goes. Or if you have repeaters in your area, this is a great option. Only $249. Just keep checking the R&L website for when this radio might come back in stock. Now, everything we've talked about so far has been a Chinese radio coming out of China. This one is the first Japanese radio we're going to talk about. Even though I don't personally own this radio, I own its big brother, which we'll mention that one here in a minute. For the price, and I've said this on my last couple of best mobile radio videos, for 2022 and 2023, I think I mentioned this one. For the price and for the features, this is probably, that if I had to rate them from 1 being the top radio and 11 being the bottom radio, this one would probably be number 1 or 2. Icom makes a fantastic radio. This is the IC2730A. At the time of this recording, it's $308.89 at R&L Electronics. Again, R&L Electronics is a sponsor of this channel. If you buy anything from them, be sure and let them know that you heard about them on this channel. This is a full duplex radio. I know a couple of guys who use this radio to work satellites because it is full duplex. Dual band, detachable face, monochrome screen, means it's just black and white screen, so nothing fancy on the screen, but it is detachable. It's analog only. It has a good number of memory channels, and it has 50 watts of RF output on both the 2 meters and the 440 band. Again, I don't use this radio. I've got 2 or 3 friends who use this radio and love it, and being that it's made by Icom, it is going to be a solid choice. And for only $308 at the time of this recording, this might be really the best radio for you to just get your feet wet and get started. If you're a new ham, you just got your technician license, and you want the full power output on the VHF, UHF band. So great addition to the lineup today. Number 4 is the Icom 2730A. Number 5 is another quad band. This is WAON, and this is, I think they pronounce it Ocean or Oshang, something like that, but it's spelled WAON. This is the KG UV980P quad band. Same 10 meters, 6 meters, 2 meters, and 440 FM only as the TH9800, but a much more reliable, much better built radio than the TYT. A little bit more expensive, coming in at $329 today over at buy2wayradios.com. This one has 50 watts of output on VHF and 40 watts of output on UHF, and it comes with about 999 memory channels, as said right there. It can do full CTCSS and DCS coding for repeater coding and whatnot. And it does have a detachable face, and you can mount it remotely and use it with the face mounted in one area and the radio mounted in the back or something like that. This is a great quad band radio. If you really want to get into quad band, which includes 10 meters and 6 meters, again, FM only, this one is going to be a better quality than the TYT. It is more expensive, so it's just a matter of what you want to pay for or can pay for at the time. But the KG-UV980 Papa, I did a video about this when this radio was new. I still have this radio. I haven't used it in a while, but I still own it. I've got a couple things I'm looking at for of doing about with it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'll probably end up making some sort of man pack to take out to the deer lease and take out to the hunting lease, take out to camping or maybe POTA spots to have a VHF, UHF capability with me there. So more to come on that later, but this radio comes in at number 5 today, and it is definitely going on the lineup. $329 at the time of this recording. We're going back to the Japanese-made radios with Oinko. This is on the Gigaparts website right now. Gigaparts is another sponsor of the show, so be sure to thank them if you end up shopping there. This is a DR735 50-watt mobile base full duplex transceiver. So those of you who are satellite guys, if you want a full duplex radio, it's going to be between this one and the 2730, and I think this 980 Papa is full duplex. Many of the WAON UV9 put a letter here series radios are full duplex. Those are full duplex radios as well. So I think that this one is too, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. I'll have to look that up later. But this one is advertised as full duplex. Full duplex means that when you key up on 2 meters, you can still hear the 440 band or vice versa. So if you're working satellites or something, want to work satellites on that, this is a good option for you. This one has a colored backlit screen. You can change the colors on the screen. You can do all kinds of, you can dial in different colors, amber, green, purple, blue, orange, red, all kinds of different stuff. It has black text on top of that colored back screen. It has 999 memory channels, 50 watts of output per band. Full duplex receiver enables simultaneous transmit and receive with the 144 and 440 bands, as well as VV and UV receiver capability. So these Oinkos, they don't really get enough praise, in my opinion. Oinko is basically the 4th Japanese company out of the big 4. Some people call it the big 3 when they talk about Icom, Yaesu, and Kenwood. Kenwood's been out of the game for a couple years, but you're seeing them come back now. Oinko has been in the game for a long time. They're just not as big as the other guys. But Oinko makes a fantastic radio. All of their radios are really good. Some of their monoband radios are excellent radios to use for building all-star nodes or building some sort of internet-connected, Raspberry Pi-connected node to do all kinds of different stuff. But this one comes in today at $329, DR735, 50-watt, does have a removable face, and you can see the original video on this channel about this radio if you want to go look that up. Today's video is sponsored by Mesi and Poloni coax, M&P coax, which you can always save a 10% discount at the Gigaparts page. I'll put a link in the description below. Use the coupon code of HR2 cables. You can get all kinds of cool stuff on the Gigaparts page. This is the page where you can save the discount. HR2 cables is the code. Mesi and Poloni makes some of the best quality coax for VHF, UHF, HF, portable coax, airborne coax, which is really lightweight to carry on an airplane. So thank you, M&P, for supporting this channel, and be sure to tell them that you heard about them on Ham Radio 2.0. Number 7 today is a Yaesu. Yaesu is another Japanese radio. Now, these more expensive radios, for the most part, are all going to be Japanese with the exception of one. This is the Yaesu FTM 300 dual-band transceiver. It is a dual-receive, small color screen transceiver that includes Yaesu System Fusion, which is a digital mode that's not compatible with anything else besides Yaesu. But this is the radio I ran in my truck before the FTM 500 came out. We're going to talk about the 500 here in just a minute. But this is a great radio if you want to get your feet wet into dual-band VHF, UHF. It has true and full APRS. It will send, receive APRS beacons, send, receive APRS messages. true APRS on this radio. This is the first radio we've talked about today that has true APRS. And it has a small screen that you can mount in small places if you have a small vehicle or something like that. There's also the FTM 200DR, which is actually a little bit cheaper. So the 300DR at the time of this recording is $459, and the 200DR is $369. The main difference between these two radios is that the 200 is not dual receive. If dual receive, which means if you hear activity on both bands at the same time, you're going to hear activity at the same time. One does not mute when the other one becomes active. On the 200, when one becomes active, the other one mutes. When the bottom becomes active, the top mutes, top becomes active, bottom mutes, however you want to do that. The 200 also has full APRS, transmit and receive, full duplex, or full messaging and whatnot. And I'm told there's a way to set it to where even though if you're listening to APRS on the second band, it'll key up and mute the first band by itself, so you can actually do APRS in one band at a time. So I haven't played with it long enough to actually learn how to do that. But if true dual receive is important to you, then you're going to want the FTM 300. If true dual receive is not important to you, then you can save almost $100 and get the Yaesu FTM 200DR. Again, full APRS, about 1,000 memory channels in that radio. The 200 came out after the 300. Go figure. I don't know how they decide these numbers. But I bought the 200. I did a video on it, and then I sold the 200 because I already had the 300 at that point in time. I didn't need the 200. I didn't need a non-dual receive radio. I already had the 300. So I sold this radio, but it's a great radio. If you're not wanting dual receive, you can save a little bit of money. Those two today are number 7 and 8. They kind of go in price, but I just wanted to put those two together. The one that I personally have, number 9 today, is the ID5100. Now, this one's been out for a long, long time. This one's actually older than the ID2730. This one has a much larger screen, but it's monochrome, white or light background and dark text. It does do D-Star. D-Star is another digital mode inside of amateur radio, which at the time of this recording, the only people who do D-Star is really Icom. Kenwood does have a D-Star radio as well. In fact, it's just about to be released at the time of this recording. But D-Star is not compatible with Yaesu System Fusion or with DMR. We're going to talk about DMR radio here in just a minute. So D-Star to D-Star you can do. So it does have a digital mode. D-Star has a very large screen. I run this one in my truck as my main VHF, UHF dual band radio. I do D-Star sometimes. I don't do it a lot, but Icom, I mean, this is just like a beautiful radio. I've had it for several years. You can load a repeater database onto an SD card, load it into the radio, and then use the GPS in the radio. It'll tell you where you are, and it'll load all the repeaters that are local to you. Very cool feature of many Icom radios to do that. But this is the ID5100 today. It's available on the Gigaparts website for $479. Great radio. Been running mine for about 4 years at the time of this recording. I've been very happy with it, and I'm going to keep running it until they come out with something that hopefully maybe an ID5200 is in the works with the color screen and a lot more features in it. We'll see. I don't know. Hint, hint, Icom. There you go. Number 10 today is another Anytone radio. Again, Anytone is Chinese. Icom is Japanese. This is the Anytone 578 UV3 Plus. This is the one and only DMR radio we're going to talk about today. This is a fantastic DMR radio. I have this radio. This is the Plus version. I have the Pro version. I have the 578 UV3 Pro. They came out with like a standard version, a Pro version. They discontinued those, and they come out the Plus version. The Plus version is still in production at the time of this recording. $484, $72 off of Bridgecom Systems at the time of this recording. It does analog APRS location, data and receive transmit. It has full APRS. The menus are a little bit different than the Yaesu, but it does have full APRS, transmit and receive. You can send packets. You can send messages. It does tri-band. It does do the 220 megahertz band, but it's low power. It's like 5 or 8 watts on 220. So better than nothing. Better than nothing. You can still do 220 on it. When you open up the programming software, and it will ask you what mode you want to put it in, you put it in the amateur mode, and it opens up the 220 megahertz band because that band's available to us in the USA as amateur radio operators. Even with 5 to 7 watts, 7 or 8 watts on maximum power output with an outside antenna on your vehicle, you're going to get out pretty far on 220 because it has a lower noise floor than many of the other bands do. So this is a great radio. This radio has about 3,000 memory channels. It got the most memory channels of any radio we're going to talk about today. It does do DMR, which DMR is different than D-Star, different than Fusion. They're not compatible with one another, so you can't crosstalk between any of the digital modes without help from a hotspot. Look up hotspot reviews on this channel for more information about that. But DMR is a great mode. It's one of my favorite digital modes, and it works well. There's a lot of DMR activity throughout the United States and Canada. This one has airband receive. It will receive AM airband. It has crossband repeat, letting you turn it into a repeater. So if you're standing out in a parking lot at a Hamfest and you want to listen to a local repeater, you can key up your HT to key the radio inside your truck, and it will activate the local repeater. A little bit more power that way. So great radio. I've still got mine. I'm going to be putting mine in the truck soon, so you'll see another video about that upcoming. But Anytone 578 UV3+. Some people ask me if you can use this radio on GMRS, and the answer is yes, you can. Now, it's not type accepted for GMRS. It's not certified for GMRS. I think that's the way to say it. But let me put it this way. I told you a minute ago about about programming it into amateur mode. You can program this in professional mode because this is a Part 90 certified radio. It eliminates the 220 band, but it opens up the 2 meter and 440 band completely. So you can actually use this on GMRS if you choose to. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying as a Part 90 radio, which many people on GMRS use Part 90 radios. And quite frankly, I don't understand why that's not allowed. Because most of the time your Part 90 radios are going to be better quality, better receive sensitivity, better front end overload reduction. Like a Motorola, you got a higher quality of radio in most Part 90 radios than the cheapy GMRS radios that are all coming out of China. But trying to make sense of what the FCC considers good and bad is, I don't know, whatever. Okay. Anyway, this will go to Part 90 if you program it as such, and it'll open up on full transmit frequency on VHF and UHF. So there is that option available to you. This brings us to number 11, and the last one we're going to talk about today. This is the FTM 500. Now, I told you at the beginning of the video I would choose my top 1, 2, or 3. It would be this radio and the Anytone 5888 UV3+, and the Anytone 578 UV3+. Okay, so these are my top 3 picks for what I consider my favorite. This is my personal preference on my favorites, because this Anytone right here has tri-band 220 at 25 or 30 watts. Great radio for that. This radio here has 3,000 memory channels. It'll do low power output on 220, but it will do 220. And it has DMR, which I really like DMR. And this radio here is just the newest radio in the Yaesu lineup. It has a larger screen than the FTM 200 and 300. It is a true dual receive. It has the AESS, the acoustical enhanced speaker system. It has a speaker inside the face of the radio, and it has more of like a fuller sound, more of like a surround sound feature to it than the other radios do. A lot of their HF radios have that feature, and this is the only VHF UHF radio they have that feature. This is on RNL's website right here. This radio released middle of last year, sometime like that, maybe last summer sometime. I don't remember exactly when it was. But I was talking to Roger at RNL, and he had told me at the time, he's like, we've had more pre-orders for that radio than any other radio we've ever sold. So it's a very popular radio. A lot of people don't like the APRS menus on it. It's a little bit cumbersome to get through the APRS menus, but the radio itself is great. I've been using mine for about 6 months in the truck at the time of this recording. I use it to beacon APRS. It has full transmit APRS, full featured APRS, beaconing, texting, SMS. I did a video recently about using APRS to SMS and vice versa. This is the radio I'm using to do that. Of course, you can use any of them to do that, but this is the radio I'm using to do that. Comes in at $528 right now at the time of this recording. It has a $100 coupon that's been applied that's valid through March of 2024. So this is a really great radio, one of my favorites. But if you don't want to spend that much and you just want to get the FTM 2 or 300, it'll do pretty much all the same stuff as this one, but this one has a larger screen, a little bit easier to see, the better speaker system, and a couple other features like that the smaller ones don't have. So that is the top radio in today's list. Again, simply due to price. We're just talking about price from 1 to 11 today, and 7 and 8, or whatever, 7 and 8 being the FTM 200 and 300. Kind of the same radio, different price range because of the dual receive thing. So what do you think I should have added to this list? Again, this is my personal preference list. Okay, this is what I think is the best choice for you as a ham radio operator with a technician class license or higher at the time of this recording in early 2024. We're going to see what comes around in 2024. We're going to see what other radios get released from China and from Japan, and what's available by Black Friday, November 2024. I'm excited to see what it might be. 73.